Ever wonder what it takes to say, "I quit," when you're not just flipping burgers but running entire countries or controlling massive empires? History is littered with the bold and the brave, who didn't just step down, they jumped off the highest peaks of power, causing shockwaves felt for generations. Today, we're unpacking the juiciest, most jaw-dropping resignations the world has ever seen. From emperors to presidents, these aren't your everyday job quitters. These are the heavyweights of history, throwing in the towel in the most unforgettable ways. Take, for instance, Richard Nixon back in 1974 and his famous exit amidst a scandal that shook America to its core. This wasn't just any resignation. It was a departure under the dark cloud of Watergate, marking the first time a U.S. president would leave office before their term was up. His story, along with others equally gripping and filled with drama, showcases the ultimate power play, choosing to step down. As we unravel these tales, you'll see how quitting isn't merely about giving up, but can sometimes change the course of history itself. Ancient abrupt adieus. Long before the days of email resignations or tweeting your job goodbye, leaders in the ancient world had their own flair for dramatic exits. And who better to start with than a man whose salad still stirs up controversy? Julius Caesar. In the bustling, togas everywhere world of ancient Rome, Caesar wasn't just playing the political game, he was rewriting the rules. Before he became the dictator of Rome, he had a lesser-known gig as the high priest of Jupiter. That's right. Our boy Julius was rocking the religious scene before he ever crossed the Rubicon or had any ideas about Ides of March shenanigans. But here's where it gets juicy. Caesar's career in the priesthood was about as stable as a chariot with square wheels. Why? Because when opportunity knocked, Caesar didn't just answer. He kicked down the door. In 59 BC, he made a bold move. He resigned from his priesthood to dive headfirst into Rome's cutthroat politics. Why the switch? Because a priest couldn't touch a horse, marry more than once, or, most importantly, hold political office. And Caesar? He had ambitions bigger than Rome itself. Fast forward a few power moves, and Caesar's not just in the Senate, he's leading it. But let's not forget another legend who said, "I'm out," in a way that left people speechless for centuries. As the 3rd century AD drew to a close, the Roman Empire was, frankly, a bit of a mess. Economic turmoil, political assassinations, and the ever-popular pastime of civil wars had left the empire on shaky legs. Enter Diocletian, a man who climbed the ranks from humble beginnings to sit on the throne of the mightiest empire of the ancient world. His reign brought stability, reorganization, and the famous Diocletianic persecution. But that's a story for another day. Now imagine you're Diocletian. You've split the empire into a tetrarchy to manage it better, you've survived countless plots against your life, and you're basically the ancient world's version of a celebrity. What's your next move? If you guessed retire to a palace and take up vegetable gardening, congratulations, you're thinking like a Roman emperor. In 305 AD, after 2 decades of ruling with an iron fist and a velvet glove, Diocletian did the unthinkable. He became the first Roman emperor to voluntarily give up the throne. His health was on the decline, true, but many believe there was more to his resignation. Diocletian saw the writing on the wall. The immense pressures of ruling such a vast and troubled empire could crush even the mightiest. So he chose a different path, a path that led straight to his cabbage patch in Split. These two ancient icons set the bar high for unforgettable resignations. They showed the world that sometimes leaving power behind can be the boldest move of all. And as we'll see, this trend of dramatic departures is far from over in the annals of history. The medieval quitting time. Fast forward from the ancient times of Rome to the Middle Ages, a period where everything was about chivalry, crusades, and surprisingly, some quite unexpected resignations. This time around, we're not talking about emperors or generals, but about a man who held spiritual sway over the masses. A pope. And not just any pope, but Pope Celestine V, the hermit who became a reluctant leader and then said, "No thanks," to the papacy. In the year 1294, the Catholic Church found itself in a bit of a pickle. The papal conclave couldn't decide on a new pope. For 2 years, the position remained vacant because, as it turns out, agreeing on anything in the Middle Ages was as hard as getting a cat to take a bath. Enter Pietro da Morone, a hermit living a life of solitude in the mountains of Italy, far removed from the chaos of the world. Pietro was about as interested in becoming pope as a fish is in a bicycle. But when a letter arrived, informing him that he had been chosen as the next pope, he initially thought it was a joke. Taking the name Celestine V, he quickly realized that papal life wasn't for him. The politics, the backstabbing, and the constant decision-making were a far cry from his peaceful hermit life. So, in one of the boldest moves in Vatican history, Celestine V resigned after just 5 months in office. His reason? He desired to return to his life of ascetic solitude, away from the burdens of papal duties. But wait, there's more to the medieval tales of, "I'm outta here." Let's talk about a king, and not just any king, but Richard II of England. His story is a bit different from our friend Celestine's. Richard's resignation, if you can call it that, was more of a "you can't fire me, I quit" situation. After a tumultuous reign marked by rebellion, conflict, and all sorts of medieval drama, Richard II found himself captured by Henry Bolingbroke, his once friend turned foe. In 1399, Richard was forced to abdicate the throne, essentially resigning, but under circumstances far from voluntary. His forced resignation marked the end of his dynasty and the beginning of the Lancastrian age in England. Richard II's story is a tragic tale of a king who dreamed of absolute power, but found himself ensnared in the very web he wove. His resignation serves as a stark reminder of the fragile nature of authority and the perilous path of tyranny. Revolutionary resignations. Now, let's gallop into the era of revolutions, where the world was ablaze with the cry for freedom and change. This period wasn't just about battles and declarations, it was also about some groundbreaking goodbyes. Among the tales of valor and the fight for rights, 2 resignations stand out for their impact and the sheer audacity of their characters. First up, George Washington, a name synonymous with American independence and cherry trees, though one of those is definitely a myth. After leading the colonies to victory against British rule and serving as the first president of the United States for 2 terms, Washington did something unheard of. He stepped down. In 1797, he published his farewell address, effectively resigning from the presidency and setting a precedent for future presidents. But why is this resignation revolutionary? Because at a time when he could have been king, Washington chose to be a citizen first, ensuring the fledgling democracy he helped forge would not be undermined by a desire for power. His departure from office established the principle of peaceful transitions of power, a cornerstone of democratic governance. Across the ocean and a few years later, another leader faced a far more tumultuous exit. King Louis XVI of France found himself in the eye of the revolutionary storm that was the French Revolution. Unlike Washington, Louis's resignation was not voluntary. The revolutionaries, fueled by years of inequality, famine, and the desire for liberty, made it clear that the monarchy was no longer welcome. In 1792, Louis was stripped of his power, and by 1793, he faced a fate far grimmer than retirement: execution by guillotine. Louis's fall from grace was a stark reminder of the power of the people and the risks of ignoring the winds of change. These 2 departures from power couldn't be more different. Washington's resignation was a testament to his character and his vision for a country governed by principles, not personalities. Louis's forced abdication and subsequent execution, however, was a bloody punctuation mark on a period of radical transformation, highlighting the dangers that come when those in power become too distant from those they govern. Modern-day mic drops. Venturing into the modern era, the stage for resignations broadens dramatically, encompassing not just political spheres, but also the realms of culture, technology, and beyond. Our journey begins with a scandal that rocked the United States to its core. In 1974, President Richard Nixon found himself entangled in the Watergate scandal, an episode that exposed the dark underbelly of political maneuvering. The crisis stemmed from a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters, but it was Nixon's subsequent cover-up and obstruction that led to his downfall. Faced with certain impeachment and loss of support from his own party, Nixon did the previously unthinkable for a sitting U.S. president. He resigned. Nixon's resignation was a seismic event in American politics, showcasing the limits of presidential power and the importance of accountability and transparency in governance. It also led to sweeping reforms designed to prevent such abuses of power, including the War Powers Act and the Freedom of Information Act amendments. Nixon's departure didn't just end his presidency. It forever altered the way Americans viewed their leaders and their government. Fast forward to 1999, and we find Boris Yeltsin, the first president of the Russian Federation, making a shock announcement on New Year's Eve, citing his health and acknowledging his inability to steer Russia through its post-Soviet transition. Yeltsin resigned, leaving a stunned nation to watch as Prime Minister Vladimir Putin stepped into the role of acting president. Yeltsin's resignation marked a pivotal moment in Russian history, effectively ending the turbulent decade that followed the Soviet Union's dissolution and ushering in an era of significant political and social change under Putin's leadership. Yeltsin's departure from the political stage was more than a personal health decision. It was a concession that he felt unable to fulfill the promises of his presidency in the face of economic turmoil, political instability, and the challenges of establishing a post-Soviet identity for Russia. His resignation and the handover to Putin had long-lasting implications for Russian politics and global affairs, setting the stage for the country's path in the 21st century. Turning our gaze to the realm of technology and business, Steve Jobs' resignation as CEO of Apple in 2011 stands out as a moment of significant importance. Citing his inability to meet his duties and expectations due to health reasons, Jobs stepped down from the company he co-founded and transformed into a global powerhouse. Under his leadership, Apple revolutionized several industries, from computing and animation to music and mobile communications. Jobs' resignation signaled the end of an era for Apple and the tech industry at large. It raised questions about the future of innovation and leadership within the company, and highlighted the critical role visionary leaders play in driving technological advancement and shaping consumer culture. Jobs' departure was not just the stepping down of a CEO, it was the closing of a chapter in the story of technological innovation that had changed the way people live, work, and communicate. His legacy, marked by the introduction of groundbreaking products like the iPhone and the iPad, continues to influence the tech landscape. I quit in style. Some resignations not only change the course of events, but do so with unparalleled flair and profound implications. Pope Benedict XVI's papal peace out. In 2013, the world witnessed a resignation that hadn't occurred in over 600 years. Pope Benedict XV, born Joseph Ratzinger, did the unthinkable for a modern pope. He resigned, citing his advanced age and deteriorating strength. Both physically and mentally, Benedict decided that he could no longer perform the duties of the papacy with the vigor required. This decision was monumental, not just for its rarity but for its departure from the tradition of popes serving until death. Benedict's resignation opened a new chapter in the Catholic Church's history, paving the way for Pope Francis, a figure who would go on to tackle issues of modernity, inclusivity, and reform within the Church. Benedict's choice underscored a humbling acknowledgement of human limitations and a profound love for the Church, putting its welfare above personal legacy. His resignation serves as a reminder that leadership, in its truest form, is about recognizing when stepping aside can be the most powerful action for the greater good. Halfway across the world, in Myanmar, another leader made headlines not for clinging to power, but for refusing it under conditions she could not morally accept. Aung San Suu Kyi, the daughter of Myanmar's independence hero General Aung San, became a symbol of peaceful resistance against the country's military dictatorship. Her party, the National League for Democracy, NLD, won a landslide victory in 1990, but the military refused to cede power. Suu Kyi spent nearly 15 of the following 21 years under house arrest, becoming one of the world's most prominent political prisoners. In 2015, her party won another decisive victory. However, Myanmar's constitution, engineered by the military, barred her from becoming president due to her children's foreign citizenship. Instead of taking a seat in the government under these constraints, Suu Kyi chose a title that held no official power but immense influence: state counselor. Her refusal to accept a compromised position highlighted her stand against the systemic issues within Myanmar's governance, advocating for democracy and human rights despite personal cost. Both Pope Benedict XVI and Aung San Suu Kyi, in their unique contexts, chose paths less traveled by resigning or refusing power, guided by a commitment to principles over position. Their decisions reflect a deep understanding that true leadership often involves making tough, unconventional choices for the sake of a larger cause or belief. Unexpected exits. In the ever-evolving narrative of history, some resignations catch the world off guard, leaving a lasting impression on society and shaping the discourse around leadership, integrity, and the courage to step down. Steve Jobs' first leave. In the realm of technology and innovation, few names shine as brightly as Steve Jobs. Co-founder of Apple Inc., Jobs was instrumental in revolutionizing multiple industries, from personal computing and animated movies to music and mobile phones. However, in 1981, after a power struggle with the board and then CEO John Sculley, Jobs resigned from the company he helped build. This exit was unexpected and dramatic, marking a significant turn in Apple's history and Jobs' life. He went on to found Next, a company that would later be crucial in Apple's resurgence, and Pixar Animation Studios, which redefined animated cinema. Jobs' departure from Apple wasn't the end, but a midpoint in a larger story of redemption and innovation. He returned to Apple in 1996 when the company acquired Next, leading to one of the most remarkable turnarounds in business history. Jobs' time away from Apple was a period of introspection and growth, demonstrating that sometimes stepping away is a necessary step on the path to achieving greater things. Sinead O'Connor's music industry, goodbye. Moving from the world of technology to music, Sinead O'Connor's resignation from the music industry is another tale of unexpected departure. The Irish singer-songwriter, known for her powerful voice and equally powerful convictions, made headlines in 1992 during a Saturday Night Live performance. O'Connor ended her performance by tearing up a photo of Pope John Paul II as a protest against abuse in the Catholic Church, an act that stunned viewers worldwide. Yuri Gagarin's grounded dreams. Yuri Gagarin, the first human to journey into outer space, became an instant global icon after his historic orbit of the Earth in 1961. Despite his eagerness to return to space, Soviet officials grounded him, fearing the loss of a national hero. Gagarin's frustration grew as he was barred from further space missions, effectively forcing his resignation from his passion. Tragically, Gagarin died in a jet crash during a routine training flight in 1968, a loss that underscored the stifling of his post-orbital career. Edward Sturz abdicates the throne. In a tale of love over duty, Edward VIII made a shocking decision to abdicate the British throne in 1936, less than a year after his reign began. His desire to marry Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, conflicted with the Church of England's teachings and the government's advice. Edward's abdication speech, where he famously stated he could not carry out his duties without the woman he loved by his side, marked one of the most dramatic resignations in royal history. Ellen DeGeneres steps away from primetime. In 1997, Ellen DeGeneres made television history when her character on the sitcom Ellen came out as gay, mirroring her real-life announcement. The backlash was immediate and intense, leading to the show's cancellation a year later. Ellen's professional journey faced significant hurdles thereafter, effectively pushing her out of primetime television for years. Her resilience and eventual return as a beloved daytime talk show host speak volumes about her character and the changing tide of public opinion. Kazuo Ishiguro's pivot from music to novels. Before Kazuo Ishiguro became a Nobel Prize-winning author, he aspired to a career in music. In his early 20s, Ishiguro wrote songs and performed at folk clubs around London, dreaming of a breakthrough that never came. Recognizing his true calling, Ishiguro shifted his focus to writing, a decision that led him to create some of the most celebrated novels of the late 20th and early 21st centuries, including The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go. Jeff Bezos leaves Wall Street for Amazon. In a move that puzzled many of his colleagues, Jeff Bezos resigned from a lucrative career on Wall Street in 1994 to start an online bookstore from his garage. At the time, the internet was just beginning to reach the public, and Bezos's vision for Amazon was met with skepticism. However, his gamble paid off spectacularly, transforming the way people shop and leading Amazon to become one of the world's most valuable companies. So, the next time you're faced with a daunting decision, remember the likes of Diocletian, Washington, Nixon, Jobs, and all the others who made the tough call to bow out. Their stories remind us that it's not just the battles we choose to fight, but also the ones we choose to walk away from, that define us.